You won't believe the nightmare I've had to live through at the age of 68. My name is Grace Whitaker, and I thought I had seen it all. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the sight of my 3-year-old granddaughter, Lily Carter, with her beautiful head completely shaved. It felt like the earth had split open beneath my feet. Her gorgeous golden hair was gone, all of it. All that was left was her little scalp, exposed and vulnerable, as if ravaged by an industrial razor. My heart just stopped. It was my son Ethan Carter's birthday party, and the whole family was invited. I arrived with my famous homemade chocolate cake, the one Lily loves so much. I expected her to come running, as always, her golden pigtails bouncing, shouting, "Grandma Grace," with that sweet voice that warms my soul. But when I walked into the living room, she was sitting in a corner with her head down, wearing a pink baseball cap that swallowed her. Something was terribly wrong. My grandmother's instinct screamed that a catastrophe had happened. I approached her slowly. "Lily, my love, why don't you give me a hug?" I asked tenderly. She looked up with those big eyes, full of tears, the kind of silent, contained tears a 3-year-old shouldn't have. "Grandma, I can't take off my hat," she whispered in a broken voice. Her lower lip trembled like a leaf in a storm. "Mommy says I look ugly without it." My hand started to shake. "What happened to your hair, my little one?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Carefully, I lifted the pink cap. What I saw shattered my soul into 1,000 pieces. Her beautiful blonde hair, the hair I used to comb with so much love every time she visited, had been brutally scalped to the root. It wasn't a bad trim. It was a cruel, merciless shave, like someone used an electric razor without care. "My God!" I exclaimed, unable to stop myself. "Who did this to you?" Lily began to cry silently, those quiet tears that only surface when a heart is utterly broken. "Mommy did it," she whispered softly, glancing toward her mother, my daughter-in-law Vanessa Reed. Just then, Vanessa appeared with a glass of wine in her hand and a smile that froze my blood. "Oh, Grace, did you see Lily's new look?" she said, laughing as if nothing had happened. "Doesn't it look modern? It's the new fashion." "Modern?" I repeated in disbelief. "Vanessa, how could you do this to a child?" Vanessa shrugged with complete nonchalance. "It was necessary. This kid never wants to wash her hair. She always cries when I try to comb it. So, I decided to solve it once and for all." "But she's just a 3-year-old!" I yelled, the rage rising in my throat. "How could you completely shave her head?" "It's just hair, Grace. It grows." Vanessa took another sip of wine and laughed again. "Besides, it's a joke. Don't you see? She's overreacting. Kids these days are so dramatic. A joke." She had called the trauma she inflicted on my granddaughter a joke. I looked at Lily, who was now hiding behind my legs, trembling like a terrified bird. Her tiny hands clutched my coral dress desperately. "A joke!" I repeated slowly, every word turning to poison in my mouth. "You call humiliating your own daughter a joke?" Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Oh, Grace, don't be so dramatic. It's just hair. In 2 months, it'll have grown back a little." But I knew my granddaughter. I knew how proud she was of her golden hair. I remembered the afternoons we spent together, me carefully brushing it while she told me about her adventures. Her hair was her crown, and Vanessa had mercilessly torn it off. I looked around for my son, Ethan. I found him in the kitchen, serving drinks as if nothing was wrong, as if his daughter wasn't sitting in the living room with a shaved head and a broken heart. "Ethan!" I called out in a tense voice. "You knew about this." He turned around, and I saw a mix of discomfort and resignation in his eyes. "Mom, Vanessa decided it was for the best. Lily's hair was always tangled." "And you allowed your daughter to be shaved like a military recruit?" I asked, tears of indignation welling up. Ethan sighed wearily. "It's not that big of a deal, Mom. It's just hair. Just hair." Those 2 words echoed like a torturous sound in my mind. For them, it was just hair. For my granddaughter, it was her dignity, her self-esteem, her shattered confidence. I went back to Lily, still crying silently. I took her in my arms and felt her little body trembling against mine. "Don't cry anymore, my love," I whispered in her ear. "Grandma is here." But inside, I was boiling with rage. This was not the first time Vanessa had humiliated my granddaughter. She always had cruel comments, always found ways to make her feel small and insignificant, and I had been silent for too long. Today, that was going to change. Today, I would get justice for my granddaughter. I carried Lily to the bathroom to talk to her in private. I locked the door and knelt to her level. Though my 6-8-year-old niece protested, her little eyes were red from crying. "Tell me exactly what happened, my love," I said in the softest voice I could. "Grandma needs to know the whole truth." Lily sobbed and began to speak between hiccups. "Yesterday morning, Mommy woke me up really mad. She said my hair was really dirty and that I was a filthy girl. My heart ached. I had seen Lily just 3 days ago, and her hair was perfectly clean. Mommy lied, but I had bathed the day before, Grandma, I swear to you." Her little hands trembled as she spoke. Mommy took me to the bathroom and got the machine Daddy uses to shave. The electric razor. "The electric razor?" I asked in horror. Lily nodded. "She told me to stay still or she was going to hurt me. I cried a lot, Grandma. I cried and begged her to stop, but she kept going and going until all my hair was on the floor. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I imagined my little granddaughter terrified, watching her beautiful hair fall, while her own mother mercilessly humiliated her. "Was your dad home?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Yes, he was watching TV in the living room. I screamed for help, but he didn't come." Lily looked at me with those innocent eyes full of pain. When she finished, Mommy gave me the hat and told me it was my fault for being a dirty, disobedient girl. I felt the rage burning inside me like volcanic lava. Not only had she shaved my granddaughter, she had blamed her for it. She had destroyed her self-esteem and planted seeds of shame in her 3-year-old heart. "Grandma," Lily whispered in my ear, "do you think I'm ugly now?" Those words completely destroyed me. I took her little face in my hands and looked her directly in the eyes. "Lily, listen to me very carefully. You are the most beautiful girl in the whole world. With or without hair, you are perfect. Do you understand me?" She nodded, but I saw she didn't completely believe me. The damage was already done. We left the bathroom and returned to the party. The music was playing. People were laughing and chatting as if nothing had happened, as if my granddaughter hadn't been brutally humiliated just 24 hours ago. I looked for Vanessa and found her laughing with my sister, Diane Whitaker Hale. She looked completely relaxed, as if shaving a 3-year-old was the most normal thing in the world. I approached them with Lily holding my hand. "Diane, you knew what Vanessa did to my granddaughter." My sister looked at me confused. "What thing?" She completely shaved her head. "Look at her." I took the hat off Lily, who immediately tried to cover herself with her little hands. Diane gasped. "Oh my God! But why?" Vanessa interrupted with a laugh. "Oh, I already explained to them. It was necessary. This girl didn't wash her hair properly. It was always greasy and tangled. Besides, now it's cooler for the heat." "Greasy?" I exploded. "I myself washed her hair 3 days ago when she was at my house. It was perfectly clean." "Well, it got dirty really fast then," Vanessa replied calmly. "Kids are like that." Diane looked at me with wide eyes. She was also a grandmother and perfectly understood the magnitude of what had happened. "Vanessa, this is too extreme. You could have cut her hair normally, not shaved her like a criminal." "It's just hair," Vanessa repeated like a broken record. "You guys are overreacting. In my day, kids obeyed and that was it. If Lily had obeyed from the beginning, this wouldn't have happened." "In your day?" I asked in disbelief. "Vanessa, you are 28 years old, not 50. What day are you talking about?" "Well, in my family, they taught us real discipline," she replied haughtily. "Not like now that all the kids are spoiled." Just then, my neighbor, Nate Sullivan, who had come to the party with his wife, approached. He had seen the whole scene. and his expression was one of complete disgust. "Excuse me for butting in," Nate said loudly, "but I have 3 grandchildren, and I would never in my life do something like that to them. This is not discipline, it's cruelty." Vanessa looked at him with contempt. "No one asked for your opinion, sir. I don't need to be asked for it," Nate replied firmly. "When I see an adult hurting a child, it's my duty to say something." "Hurting?" Vanessa laughed hysterically. "Please don't be so dramatic. It's just a radical haircut." But I had noticed something else. Throughout the entire conversation, Lily had clung more and more to my body, trembling every time her mother spoke. It wasn't just fear, it was pure terror. This girl was terrified of her own mother. "Lily," I said softly, "do you want to go to the kitchen with me for some water?" She nodded desperately, but when I tried to take her, Vanessa stopped me. "No, Lily is staying here with me. She's been hiding long enough. We're just going for water," I explained, trying to stay calm. I said no. Vanessa's voice became menacing. "This girl needs to learn to socialize, not hide behind her grandma's skirts every time she doesn't like something." I looked at my granddaughter and saw absolute panic in her eyes. She didn't want to stay with her mother. She was afraid of her. Just then, my son Ethan came up to the group. "What's going on here? Why all the commotion?" "Your mother is making a mountain out of a molehill," Vanessa told him in a sugary voice. "Just because I cut Lily's hair." Ethan looked at me with a tired expression. "Mom, please don't cause problems. It's just hair." "Problems?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Ethan, did you see how your daughter looks? Did you see how she's trembling with fear?" "She's fine, Mom. She's just being dramatic as always." Those words hit me like a slap in the face. My own son was calling his 3-year-old daughter dramatic for being traumatized. My own son was siding with the person who had humiliated his own daughter. "Dramatic?" I repeated slowly. "Your 3-year-old daughter is being dramatic because she was shaved against her will." "Mom, that's enough." Ethan looked at me with irritation. "Vanessa is her mother, and she has the right to decide about her hair. You have no business getting involved." I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. My son, my own son, was defending the indefensible. He was choosing his wife over his daughter's well-being. I looked at Lily, who was now crying silently again. I looked at Vanessa, who was smiling with satisfaction. I looked at Ethan, who avoided my gaze. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't going to let my granddaughter spend one more second in that toxic environment. I wasn't going to let them continue to humiliate her while I stood by. I took Lily's hand firmly. "We're leaving." "What do you mean you're leaving?" Vanessa blocked my way with her arms crossed. "Lily is staying here. It's her father's birthday party, and she's not going to leave just because you're having a tantrum." "It's not a tantrum," I replied in a firm voice, keeping Lily protected behind me. "It's protecting my granddaughter from more humiliation." "Humiliation?" Vanessa laughed that fake laugh that got on my nerves. "Grace, I think you need to calm down. You're seeing ghosts where there are none." But I had seen enough. For the past 2 years since Ethan married Vanessa, I had noticed disturbing changes in my granddaughter. Lily had stopped being the cheerful, spontaneous girl I knew. She had become quiet, timid, always apologizing for everything. "Ghosts?" I repeated. "You know what? You're right. I've been seeing things I preferred to ignore." I knelt down next to Lily and spoke softly to her. "My love, do you remember when you told me you didn't want to stay over at Mommy and Daddy's house anymore?" Lily nodded shyly. Vanessa immediately tensed up. "Why did you tell me that, my sweetie?" I continued to ask, even though I already suspected the answer. "Because Mommy gets really mad," Lily whispered. "And when she gets mad, she says ugly things to me." "What kind of ugly things?" Vanessa interrupted abruptly. "That's enough. I'm not going to let you manipulate my daughter against me." "Manipulate?" I asked, standing up. "I'm just asking why my granddaughter is afraid to be in her own house." "She's not afraid," Vanessa yelled. "She's making things up because you spoil her too much." But Lily began to speak in a trembling voice. Mommy says I'm a bad girl. She says it's my fault Daddy doesn't love her as much as he used to. I felt my blood run cold. What else does she say to you, my love? She says I'm just as annoying as Grandma Grace, that we're both busybodies who ruin everything. My granddaughter's words dropped like bombs in the middle of the room. Diane put her hands to her mouth. Nate shook his head, visibly annoyed. Vanessa turned red as a tomato. That's not true. This girl is lying. A 3-year-old girl is lying about something so specific? I asked incredulously. A girl who doesn't even know how to invent complicated lies. Yes, because you're manipulating her. Just then, Ethan appeared with a beer in his hand, clearly annoyed by the interruption to his party. What's going on now? Why all the yelling? Your wife has been saying horrible things to your daughter, I explained, trying to maintain my composure. And now, it turns out, the girl is lying. Ethan sighed in exasperation. Mom, Vanessa wouldn't say ugly things to Lily. You're the one who's drawing exaggerated conclusions. Exaggerated? I exploded. Ethan, look at your daughter. Look at her shaved head. Look at her trembling with fear. She's trembling because you're scaring her with all these questions. Ethan replied without even looking at Lily. You're creating unnecessary drama. I couldn't believe my son's blindness. His own daughter was clearly traumatized, and he refused to see it. Fine, I said in a dangerously calm voice. If you think I'm crazy, let me ask Lily something in front of everyone. I knelt down next to my granddaughter again. Lily, when Mommy cut your hair yesterday, did you cry? Yes, Grandma. And what did she say to you when you were crying? Lily looked at her mother in terror. Vanessa glared at her. You can tell me, my love. No one is going to scold you. In a voice that was barely audible, Lily whispered, She told me that ugly girls cry a lot, and that if I kept crying, she was going to cut my eyelashes too. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the music seemed to have turned down. Diane put her hands to her chest. Nate clenched his fists in contained anger. You told your 3-year-old daughter that she was ugly? I asked Vanessa in a voice that trembled with indignation. I didn't say that, Vanessa yelled desperately. This girl is confused. And she's also confused about the eyelashes? I insisted. Vanessa fell silent for the first time all afternoon. Her silence was more eloquent than any confession. Ethan finally looked at his daughter. He really looked at her. And for the first time, I saw a shadow of doubt in his eyes. Lily, did Mommy really say that to you? Lily nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. And she also told me that if I told anyone, she was going to cut my hair even shorter. That was the last straw. I stood up like a spring and faced Vanessa face to face. Not only did you traumatize my granddaughter, I said in a voice as sharp as a knife, but you threatened her to keep her quiet. What kind of monster threatens a 3-year-old girl? I'm not a monster. Vanessa was completely losing her composure. You're all taking everything out of context. What context justifies calling a child ugly? Diane asked, who had been silent until now. What context justifies threatening her? She was being too dramatic, Vanessa yelled. I was just trying to calm her down. By calling her ugly? Nate joined the confrontation. Ma'am, that's not calming a child down. That's psychological abuse. Don't get involved in what doesn't concern you. Vanessa was completely out of control now. This is my family. Your family? I asked with contempt. Is that how you treat your family? By humiliating them, threatening them, destroying their self-esteem? Ethan finally reacted, but not as I had expected. That's enough, everyone, he yelled. This is my house and my party. If you don't like how we raise our daughter, you can leave. My words were stuck in my throat. My own son was kicking me out of his house for defending his daughter. How we raise our daughter, I repeated slowly. Ethan, you consider shaving a 3-year-old girl's head and calling her ugly to be parenting? It's discipline, Ethan replied, but his voice sounded less sure than before. Vanessa is trying to teach her good habits. What good habits? I exploded. The habit of being afraid? The habit of thinking she's ugly? The habit of staying quiet when she's being hurt? Lily began to cry louder, clinging to my coral dress desperately. The sound of her sobs filled the entire room. Vanessa took advantage of the moment to attack again. See, now you've made her cry more. This is all your fault for coming and causing problems. But I had made a decision. I looked my son directly in the eyes and told him with all the coldness I could muster, Ethan, if you consider defending your daughter to be causing problems, then you clearly don't know me at all. I took Lily in my arms. She clung to me, as if I were her lifeboat in the middle of a storm. We are leaving right now, I announced, and we are not coming back until this situation changes completely. You can't take her, Vanessa yelled. She's my daughter. She is my granddaughter, I replied in a voice of steel, and I will not allow you to continue to hurt her. I walked toward the door with Lily in my arms. Behind me, I heard Ethan yelling, Mom, stop being so dramatic. You're overreacting to everything. Dramatic? That word followed me to the door. My granddaughter was traumatized, humiliated, and threatened, but I was the dramatic one for protecting her. I left that house with my granddaughter in my arms, swearing to myself that I would never again allow anyone to hurt her, no matter the price I had to pay. The ride to my house was the most silent of my life. Lily had fallen asleep in the back seat, emotionally exhausted by everything she had been through. Every time I looked at her in the rearview mirror, my heart broke a little more. Her little shaved head looked so vulnerable, so helpless. When we got home, I carefully carried her and took her directly to my bedroom. I put her to bed, the same one she had slept in so many nights when she was smaller. I took off the pink hat and gently stroked her head. Her skin was irritated by the razor Vanessa had used without any care. Grandma, she murmured without opening her eyes, can I stay with you forever? Those words destroyed me. A 3-year-old girl should not prefer to live with her grandmother over her own parents. That only happened when the home wasn't safe. Of course, my love, I whispered, even though I knew it was legally impossible. You will always be protected here. Lily fell into a deep sleep. I stayed watching her, remembering all the signs I had ignored during these 2 years. The behavior changes, the fear in her eyes when Vanessa scolded her, the way she had become so quiet and obedient. How had I not seen it before? How had I allowed my granddaughter to suffer in silence for so long? My phone began to ring. It was Ethan. I let it ring until it cut off. He called back immediately and again and again. Finally, I answered. What do you want, Ethan? Mom, you have to bring Lily back right now. His voice sounded authoritative, as if I were an employee who had disobeyed orders. No, I replied simply. What do you mean, no? She's my daughter. Mom, you can't just take her like that. Your daughter? I laughed bitterly. Since when do you act like she's your daughter? You've been letting your wife mistreat her for 2 years. Vanessa doesn't mistreat her. She's just strict. Ethan, listen to me very carefully. My voice became dangerously calm. Your wife shaved your daughter's head, called her ugly, threatened her, and has been psychologically traumatizing her for months. Is that being strict? You're overreacting to everything as always. As always. Those 2 words made me see red. As always. When have I ever overreacted about something that has to do with my granddaughter's well-being? Ethan was silent for a moment. Mom, just bring her back. We can talk tomorrow. No, Lily is staying with me until you guys solve this problem. You have no right, Ethan yelled. Vanessa is her mother. And where were you when your wife was shaving your daughter's head? I asked him. Where were you when she was crying and begging for help? Another uncomfortable silence. I didn't know it was going to be so drastic. You didn't know? My voice rose. Your wife grabs an electric razor to cut a 3-year-old girl's hair, and you didn't know it was going to be drastic? She told me she was just going to cut her hair. Ethan, did you hear your daughter cry? Silence. Did you hear her cry? Yes or no? Yes, he finally admitted in a small voice. And what did you do? I thought. I thought it was normal. Kids always cry when their hair is cut. Kids cry when their hair is cut, Ethan. They don't scream in terror when they're shaved with a razor. I heard Vanessa talking in the background, but I couldn't make out the words. Paula says you have to bring Lily back immediately, or we're going to call the police, Ethan informed me. Perfect, I replied without hesitation. Tell Vanessa to call the police. I'd love to explain to them why my granddaughter has a shaved head and why she's so terrified of her own mother. Ethan fell silent. Clearly, Vanessa hadn't thought of that possibility. Besides, I continued, I have photos of how Lily looked after her haircut, and I have witnesses to what happened at the party. Diane and Nate saw everything. Mom, please. Ethan's voice broke a little. Don't make this more difficult. I'm making it difficult? I couldn't believe his nerve. Ethan, your daughter is traumatized. When I asked her if she wanted to stay with me forever, she said yes. Don't you find that concerning? She's just confused. No, Ethan, she's scared, and she has the right to be. I hung up the phone and put it on silent mode. I needed to think about my next step. I went to the kitchen and made Lily's favorite dinner, pasta with tomato sauce and cheese. While I cooked, I reflected on everything I had discovered. The cruel comments, the threats, the constant psychological abuse. This hadn't started yesterday with the haircut. This had been going on for months, maybe years. When Lily woke up, we ate dinner together at the kitchen table. She ate with more appetite than she had shown in months. Grandma, she said while chewing, do you think my hair is going to grow back pretty again? Of course, my love. It's going to grow back more beautiful than before, and you're going to help me comb it when it grows every day if you want. Lily smiled for the first time all afternoon. A small, shy, but genuine smile. After dinner, I gave her a warm bath and put one of my t-shirts on her as pajamas. While I was drying her, I noticed she had small cuts on her scalp where the razor had been too aggressive. Does it hurt, my sweetie? I asked gently, touching one of the cuts. A little bit, but I don't cry anymore because Mommy says that girls who cry are ugly. I had to go to the bathroom to cry in private. I couldn't let Lily see me break down. She needed to see strength, not more pain. When I came back, I found her looking at herself in the mirror on my vanity. Grandma, am I really not ugly? I knelt down next to her, and we looked at ourselves in the mirror together. Lily, do you know what the most beautiful part of you is? She shook her head. Your heart, your smile, the way you hug me, the way you take care of your dolls. That's what makes you beautiful, not your hair. But Mommy says that girls without pretty hair are ugly. Mommy is wrong, my love. There are many beautiful women who have short hair or no hair at all. I showed her photos on my phone of famous actresses with very short hair. Her little eyes lit up a bit. They are pretty, too. Very beautiful. And so are you. That night, Lily slept with me in my bed. She snuggled against my chest like a scared kitten. Every time she moved in her sleep, she would murmur, "No, Mommy, please," or "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Even in her sleep, my granddaughter was still apologizing. That was the longest night of my life. I stayed awake listening to her nightmares, stroking her shaved head silently, promising her that I would never again let anyone hurt her. At 3 a.m., my phone vibrated with a message from Ethan. Mom, Vanessa is very upset. She says that if you don't bring that Lily back early tomorrow, she's going to do something drastic. Please don't make things worse. I read the message and felt a chill. What kind of woman threatens to do something drastic over a 3-year-old girl? What kind of mother uses her own daughter as a blackmail weapon? At that moment, I knew this was much more serious than I had imagined. Vanessa was not just a strict or impatient woman. She was someone genuinely dangerous, and my granddaughter had been living with that person for 2 years. I woke up at 6 a.m., with Lily still snuggled against my chest. During the night, she had had 3 different nightmares, and each time she woke up crying, I would comfort her until she fell back asleep. Her little hands clung to my nightgown as if she feared someone was going to take her away. My phone had 17 missed calls from Ethan and 5 increasingly desperate text messages. The last one, sent at 5 a.m., said, Mom, Vanessa hasn't slept all night. She's walking around the house like crazy. Please bring Lily back. I'm begging you. I carefully got up so as not to wake my granddaughter and went to the kitchen to make coffee. I needed to think clearly about what to do next. While the coffee was brewing, my phone rang again. This time, it was Diane. Grace, how is the girl? She asked me in a worried voice. Better, but very traumatized, Diane. Last night she had horrible nightmares. She was screaming and apologizing in her sleep. Oh my God, this is much worse than we thought. Worse how? Diane sighed deeply. After you left yesterday, I stayed and talked with some cousins. It turns out that Lily told our cousin Rachel Wynn a month ago that her mommy punished her by cutting her hair a little bit each time she misbehaved. I felt as if I had been hit with a hammer. What? Rachel thought the girl was exaggerating. But now it all makes sense. Vanessa has been using Lily's hair as punishment for months, and no one told me anything. My voice rose dangerously. Rachel thought it was just kids being kids. You know how they are. But yesterday, when she saw Lily completely shaved, she realized the girl was telling the truth. I hung up the phone with my hands shaking with rage. It wasn't just the cut from yesterday. Vanessa had been psychologically torturing my granddaughter for months, using her hair as a punishment weapon. I went back to the bedroom and found Lily awake, sitting on the bed, hugging one of my pillows. Good morning, my love. Did you sleep well? She shook her head. I dreamed that Mommy was cutting my eyelashes like she had said. I sat next to her and hugged her tightly. That's never going to happen. Do you hear me? No one is going to hurt you as long as I'm here. But I'm going to have to go back with Mommy. The question broke my heart because I didn't have a clear answer. Legally, Vanessa was her mother, and I had no custody rights. I'm trying to fix things so that you're safe, I said with all the honesty I could. I made Lily's favorite breakfast, pancakes with syrup and strawberries. While we ate, she told me more details about what she had been living through. Grandma, do you remember when I came to your house 2 months ago with my hair a little shorter? Yes, I remember. Mommy cut it because I spilled juice on the table. She told me that careless girls didn't deserve pretty hair. Every word was like a dagger in my heart. And what did your dad say when this happened? Dad was almost never home. And when he was, Mom acted differently. Of course, Vanessa hid her true personality when Ethan was present. She was an expert manipulator. At 9:00 the morning, my doorbell rang insistently. I went to the window and saw Ethan's car parked outside. He was standing at my door with Vanessa next to him. She looked disheveled, as if she had indeed not slept all night. Lily, go to my room and close the door, I told my granddaughter. Don't come out until I tell you. I opened the door, but I didn't invite them in. What do you want? We've come for our daughter, Vanessa said in a hoarse voice. Her eyes were red and swollen, but not with sadness. It was pure rage. Your daughter is fine where she is. Grace, please. Ethan tried to use a conciliatory tone. We understand you're upset, but this has gone too far. Too far? I repeated in disbelief. What went too far was shaving a 3-year-old girl's head. Vanessa exploded. I'm tired of this drama. It's just hair. She'll forget about this in a week. She'll forget? My voice became dangerously calm. Vanessa, do you know that Lily had nightmares last night? Do you know that she woke up screaming and apologizing? Kids have nightmares all the time. And do you know that she asked me if she could stay with me forever because she's afraid to come back with you? For the first time, I saw a shadow of doubt cross Ethan's face. She really said that. Really? Your daughter is afraid of you, I told Vanessa directly. That's a lie, Vanessa yelled. You're manipulating her against me. I don't need to manipulate her. Your behavior speaks for itself. Just then, Nate Sullivan appeared in his yard. Seeing us arguing, he approached the fence that separated our houses. Everything okay, Grace? He asked in a protective tone. Everything's perfect, Nate. I'm just protecting my granddaughter. Vanessa turned to Nate in a fury. Mind your own business. When I see a child being mistreated, it is my business, Nate replied firmly. No one is mistreating anyone, Vanessa yelled, but her voice sounded hysterical. Ma'am, Nate spoke in a calm but firm voice. Yesterday I saw that child, with her head completely shaved, trembling with fear. That's not normal. Ethan finally spoke. Nate, I understand your concern, but it's our family. And that's precisely why you should care more, Nate replied. I have 3 grandchildren, and I've never seen any of them as scared as that child was yesterday. Vanessa was completely losing control. All of you are crazy. It's just a haircut. In other countries, they shave kids all the time. In other countries? I asked her. Vanessa, what countries are you talking about? Military prisons? That's enough! Ethan finally exploded. Mom, you have to give Lily back right now. She's my daughter. End of story. Your daughter? My voice became sharp. Since when do you act like she's your daughter? Where were you when she was being shaved? Where were you when she was called ugly? Ethan fell silent, but Vanessa took advantage to attack. Grace, you're making that child sick with your ideas. You're creating problems where there are none. Problems where there are none? I laughed bitterly. Vanessa, your daughter asked me yesterday if she was ugly. A 3-year-old girl shouldn't even know that word applied to herself. Kids say a lot of silly things. Silly things? Nate joined the conversation again. Ma'am, yesterday I heard that child telling her grandmother that you threatened to cut her eyelashes, and she was still crying. Are those silly things too? Vanessa turned pale. She hadn't expected there to be witnesses to that confession. I didn't say that exactly. What did you say exactly? I asked her. Vanessa stammered for the first time since I had known her. I was just trying to calm her down by threatening her. Ethan finally reacted. Vanessa, did you really say that to Lily? It was a joke, Vanessa yelled desperately. The whole thing was a joke. This family doesn't understand humor. A joke? Nate shook his head. Ma'am, shaving a child and threatening her is not humor. It's cruelty. Just then, I heard Lily crying from my room. She had heard the yelling and had gotten scared. Look what you've done, I told them with contempt. You've scared the child again. I went into the house and locked the door. I went straight to my room and found Lily hiding under the covers. Mommy is coming to take me, she asked in a trembling voice. No, my love, you're not going anywhere where you don't feel safe, but she's going to punish me later. Those words broke my soul. My granddaughter knew that she would eventually have to pay for having caused problems. Lily, listen to me very carefully. You haven't done anything wrong. None of this is your fault, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe. Do you promise me? I promise you. Outside, the yelling continued. Ethan and Vanessa were arguing with each other now, probably because Ethan was finally realizing the magnitude of the problem. I took my phone and looked up the number for my lawyer. It was time to take legal action. This situation had gone too far, and I wasn't going to allow my granddaughter to return to an environment where she was psychologically abused. Lily, I told my granddaughter as I dialed the number, we're going to fix this. I promise you. My lawyer, Samuel Pierce, Esquire, arrived at my house 2 hours after my call. He was a 60-year-old man, a family man, and a grandfather like me. When I explained the situation to him on the phone, his response was immediate. Grace, what you're describing to me is child abuse. I'm on my way over right now. While I waited for the lawyer, Ethan and Vanessa had been ringing my doorbell every 15 minutes. I ignored them completely. Every time the bell rang, Lily clung to my body, trembling. Grandma, they're going to force me to go, she asked me again and again. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen, my love. When Mr. Pierce arrived, Ethan and Vanessa were sitting on my front steps. Upon seeing the lawyer, they immediately stood up. Who is he? Ethan asked with concern. My lawyer, I replied from the doorway. Mr. Pierce, These are Lily's parents. The lawyer greeted them politely, but maintained a serious expression. Sir, I understand there is a family dispute. Could you explain your version of events to me? Vanessa immediately began to speak breathlessly. Sir, my mother-in-law took my daughter without my permission. That's kidnapping. I want her back immediately. I understand, the lawyer said calmly. And what was Miss Whitaker's reason for taking the child? Ethan and Vanessa looked at each other nervously. It was a misunderstanding, Ethan finally said. What kind of misunderstanding? Asterisk. My wife cut our daughter's hair and my mother got upset, Ethan explained, completely minimizing the situation. I see. Could you be more specific about this haircut? Vanessa intervened aggressively. I cut her hair because it was dirty and tangled. She's my daughter, and I have the right to decide about her hair. Mr. Pierce took notes. Did the child agree to this haircut? She doesn't have to agree. She's 3 years old, Vanessa yelled. I understand. Could you show me the child? Grace won't let us see her. Vanessa was losing patience. The lawyer looked at me. Miss Whitaker, could you show me your granddaughter? I went to get Lily. When she came out of the house holding my hand, I heard Mr. Pierce inhale sharply. The completely shaved head of my granddaughter with the small visible cuts was shocking. Asterisk. Good morning, Lily, the lawyer said in a soft voice. I'm Mr. Samuel. Could you tell me how you feel? Lily hid behind my legs but replied in a low voice. I'm scared. Scared of what, my child? That Mommy will punish me for making everyone angry. Mr. Pierce looked at Vanessa sternly. The child is often afraid of being punished. All kids are afraid of punishment. Vanessa replied defensively. Lily, the lawyer continued, who cut your hair? Mommy with Daddy's machine. And how did you feel when that happened? Lily's eyes filled with tears. Very sad. I cried a lot and asked her to stop, but Mommy said that ugly girls cry a lot. Ethan turned pale. It was the first time he had heard directly from his daughter what had happened. Mr. Pierce continued to ask with professional patience. Did your mommy tell you that you were ugly? Lily nodded. And she told me that if I told anyone, she was going to cut my eyelashes too. Your eyelashes? Yes, and that girls without eyelashes look like monsters. The silence that followed was absolute. Even Vanessa had fallen silent, finally aware of how her words sounded when a 3-year-old repeated them. Mr. Pierce closed his notebook. Folks, what this child is describing to me constitutes psychological child abuse. Threatening a minor, using degrading insults, and using physical punishment as a form of control are considered forms of abuse. It's not abuse, Vanessa yelled desperately. It's discipline. Ma'am, calling a 3-year-old girl ugly is not discipline. Threatening her with cutting her eyelashes is not discipline. It's cruelty. Ethan finally found his voice. Sir, I understand that it looks bad, but Vanessa didn't have bad intentions. Intentions don't matter when the result is psychological trauma, the lawyer replied firmly. This child shows clear signs of traumatic stress. What signs? Ethan asked, genuinely confused. Excessive fear of being punished, separation anxiety, emotional regression, and nightmares. Your grandmother informed me that the child had multiple nightmares last night. Lily pulled on my dress. Grandma, can I go inside? I don't want to be here. Of course, my love. When Lily went inside, Mr. Pierce continued to talk to Ethan and Vanessa. Folks, I'm going to be very clear. If you try to recover this child by force or call the police claiming kidnapping, I am going to immediately file a report for child abuse. I have witnesses, photographs of the child's condition, and her own testimony. Witnesses? Ethan asked nervously. Mr. Nate Sullivan witnessed the entire confrontation yesterday, Miss Diane Whitaker Hale also, and I have information that other family members have observed concerning behavior for months. Vanessa broke down. For the first time since I had known her, she looked truly scared. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted her to obey. Ma'am, A 3-year-old girl obeys out of love and respect, not out of fear and threats. Ethan approached the lawyer. What do we have to do to solve this? First, Miss Vanessa needs professional psychological help. Second, the child needs therapy to overcome the trauma. Third, you need to learn appropriate parenting techniques. And fourth, Miss Grace will maintain temporary custody until a child psychologist determines that it is safe for Lily to return home. Temporary custody? Vanessa was alarmed. For how long? As long as necessary. This is not negotiable. And if we refuse? Vanessa asked defiantly. Mr. Pierce looked her directly in the eyes. Then this becomes a social services case, and a judge will decide your daughter's future, and I assure you that a judge will not look kindly on a mother who shaves her 3-year-old daughter's head and threatens to cut her eyelashes. Ethan put his hands on his head. How did we get to this? You got to this because you allowed the abuse to continue for months, the lawyer replied bluntly. Miss Whitaker informed me that this was not an isolated incident. What do you mean? Ethan asked. Your daughter told family members a month ago that her mother punished her by cutting her hair a little bit each time she misbehaved. This is a pattern of behavior, not a single mistake. Ethan looked at Vanessa in horror. Is that true? Vanessa began to cry. I thought it was a good way to teach her that actions have consequences. Cutting her hair is punishment? Ethan was beginning to understand the magnitude of the problem. Mr. Pierce intervened. Folks, I have to go, but I want to make the next step very clear. Lily is staying with her grandmother until further notice. You will seek professional help immediately, and any attempt to contact the child without supervision will be considered a violation of the conditions. After the lawyer left, Ethan and Vanessa stood on my front steps like zombies. Finally, Ethan spoke. Mom, can we see Lily for 5 minutes? Just so she knows we're not mad at her? I considered the request. You can see her, but I will be present the whole time. And at the first sign that you're scaring her, you're leaving. I went inside to get Lily. My love, your dad and mommy want to say goodbye to you. Are you okay with that? Lily nodded nervously. Are they going to be mad at me? No, my sweetie. They just want to say goodbye. We went out together. Ethan knelt down to Lily's level with tears in his eyes. Lily, Daddy wants you to know that he's not mad at you. None of this is your fault. It's okay. Lily nodded without speaking. Can Daddy give you a hug? Lily looked at Vanessa with fear. Then she looked at me. I nodded reassuringly. Ethan hugged his daughter softly. I love you very much, Lily. We're going to fix this, I promise. When they separated, Vanessa approached shyly. Lily, I'm sorry. Mommy was wrong. It was the first time Vanessa had apologized for anything. Lily looked at her with those big, wise eyes that children who have suffered too much have. You're not going to cut my hair anymore? My granddaughter asked. No, my love. Never again. And you're not going to call me ugly? Vanessa began to cry. No, my sweetie. You are beautiful. Mommy was terribly wrong. For the first time, I saw real humanity in Vanessa. For the first time, she seemed to understand the damage she had caused. But the damage was already done, and healing was going to take a long time. The first few days after the confrontation with the lawyer were strangely calm. Ethan and Vanessa had disappeared completely, following the legal recommendations to seek professional help before attempting any contact with Lily. My house had become a safe haven where my granddaughter was slowly beginning to heal. Lily and I established a new routine. Every morning we had breakfast together while we planned the day. I had transformed my office into a temporary bedroom for her, decorating it with her favorite colors and buying new toys. I wanted her to feel at home, not like a temporary guest. Grandma, she told me one morning while we were having breakfast, my hair has grown a little bit. I went to examine her little head. Indeed, a soft golden fuzz was beginning to appear. Yes, my love, it's growing. Do you want me to put a special cream on it to make it grow faster? Her little eyes lit up. Does that cream really exist? Of course it does. And there are also special vitamins for hair. It was a lie, of course. But I bought organic coconut oil and children's vitamins. Every night, we turned massaging the oil into her scalp into a special ritual. She would sit in front of the mirror while I gently massaged her head, telling her stories about princesses who had also lost their hair because of evil witches, but who had gotten it back more beautiful than before. On the fourth day, my phone rang. It was Ethan. "Mom, how is Lily?" "Better." "She's starting to smile again. Could I talk to her on the phone just for 5 minutes? I miss her so much." I looked at Lily, who was coloring at the kitchen table. "Lily, your dad wants to talk to you on the phone. Do you want to?" She stopped coloring and looked at me with uncertainty. "Is Mommy going to talk too?" "Just Dad," I assured her. Lily nodded and took the phone with her small hands. "Dad." From where I was sitting, I could hear Ethan's broken voice. "Hello, my princess. How are you?" "Good. Grandma is taking very good care of me. She's massaging my head so my hair grows. I'm so happy to hear that. Daddy misses you very much." "I miss you too, Daddy. When are you going to come see me?" There was a long pause. "Soon, my love. Daddy is learning new things to be a better dad." "And Mommy?" Another pause. "Mommy is learning too. She loves you very much and is very sad for having hurt you." Lily was pensive. "Is Mommy really sad?" "Very sad. She cries every day because she realizes she was wrong. But she's not going to be mean to me anymore?" "No, my princess. Never again." After the call, Lily was quiet for a while. Finally, she asked me, "Grandma, do you think Mommy is really sad?" "I think so, my love. Sometimes we adults do very ugly things because we don't know how to handle our feelings. But that doesn't mean what they did was okay. And what if Mommy really changes?" It was a difficult question. "Lily, real change takes a long time. It's not something that happens overnight. Like my hair? Exactly like your hair. It grows little by little, day by day." That same afternoon, I received an unexpected call. It was Dr. Maya Chen, a child psychologist that Mr. Pierce had recommended. "Miss Whitaker, I understand you have your granddaughter in temporary custody due to a situation of abuse." "That's right, doctor. I'd like to schedule an evaluation with the child to determine the level of trauma and design a treatment plan. Would it be possible for you to come in tomorrow?" "Of course." "Will Lily be comfortable? She gets scared easily with strangers now." "I understand perfectly. I have a lot of experience working with children who have suffered trauma. My office is designed specifically for them to feel safe." The next day, I took Lily to her first appointment with the psychologist. The office was beautiful, full of colorful toys and storybooks. Dr. Chen was a middle-aged woman with a genuine smile and a very soft voice. "Hello, Lily. I'm Dr. Maya, but you can call me Dr. Chen. Do you like to play?" Lily nodded shyly, holding my hand. "Do you want your grandmother to stay here with you while we play?" "Yes, please." For the next hour, I watched as Dr. Chen worked with my granddaughter. It was not a session of direct questions, but a play session where Lily could express her feelings through dolls and drawings. At one point, Lily took a doll and began to cut its hair with toy scissors. "What's happening to the doll?" the doctor asked softly. "Her mommy is punishing her because she misbehaved." "And how does the doll feel?" "Very sad and ugly." The doctor took notes discreetly. "Did the doll do something very bad?" Lily thought for a moment. "No, she just spilled water." "And do you think spilling water deserves that punishment?" "I don't know. Mommy says it does." When the session ended, the doctor asked to speak with me in private while Lily played in the waiting room. "Miss Whitaker, your granddaughter shows clear signs of psychological trauma. Her self-esteem is severely damaged, and she has a distorted perception of what behaviors deserve punishment. How serious is it?" "It's serious, but not irreversible. Children are very resilient. With consistent therapy and a safe environment, Lily can recover completely." "How long will it take?" months, possibly a year, and that's just for Lily. The parents also need intensive therapy before it's safe for her to return home. That afternoon, while Lily was taking a nap, I reflected on everything I had learned. My granddaughter had not only suffered the trauma of the haircut, she had been living in a constant state of fear and anxiety for months, never knowing what normal behavior could result in humiliation or punishment. My phone rang. It was Diane. "Grace, how are things going?" "Better, but it's a slow process. The psychologist says it's going to take months." "What about Ethan and Vanessa?" "Ethan has been calling every day to talk to Lily. He sounds genuinely regretful, but I haven't heard anything directly from Vanessa." Asterisk, asterisk. Well, I have news about that. I ran into Olivia Reed, Paula's sister, at the supermarket yesterday. "And what did she tell you?" Asterisk, asterisk. That Vanessa is in intensive therapy. Apparently, she's going 3 times a week and is taking medication for anxiety. Medication? Yes. Apparently, she has impulse control problems that had never been diagnosed. Olivia says Vanessa grew up in a very strict home, where physical and psychological punishments were normal. That information made me think. It didn't justify what Vanessa had done, but at least it explained where her behavior came from. And how is Ethan reacting to all of this? Asterisk, asterisk. According to Olivia, he's devastated. He realized that he had been ignoring signs for years. He's in individual therapy, and he's also going to parenting classes. That night, while I was reading a story to Lily before bed, she surprised me with a question. "Grandma, do you think I'll ever be able to forgive Mommy?" It was a very deep question for a 3-year-old girl. "Do you want to forgive her?" Lily thought for a moment. "Sometimes I do, but sometimes I'm still scared." "It's okay to be scared, my love, and it's okay not to be ready to forgive yet. But if I don't forgive her, am I a bad girl?" "No, my sweetie. Forgiveness is something you can only do when you feel ready and safe. You don't have to rush. And what if I never feel ready? Then you never have to do it. Forgiveness is a gift you give when you want to, not when others need it." Lily nodded, satisfied with my answer. She fell asleep peacefully that night, without nightmares for the first time since she came to my house. But I stayed awake thinking about the future. What would happen if Vanessa really changed? What would happen if she didn't? Would Lily have to grow up divided between her love for her father and her fear of her mother? Only time would tell. But one thing was for sure. As long as I had a voice and a vote, my granddaughter would never again suffer in silence. 3 weeks after the incident, I received a call that would change everything. It was Mr. Pierce, my lawyer, and his voice sounded worried. "Grace, I need to see you urgently. Ethan and Vanessa have filed a legal petition to regain custody of Lily." I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. Can they do that? Asterisk, asterisk. Legally, yes. They argue that they have been following all the therapeutic recommendations and that they have met the requirements. In addition, Vanessa has been officially diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder and is under medical treatment. What does that mean? Asterisk, asterisk. It means they're going to argue that her behavior was the result of an undiagnosed medical condition and that now that she's being treated, she doesn't pose a danger to Lily. I hung up the phone with my hands shaking. Lily was in the yard playing with her new dolls, completely unaware of the storm that was approaching. Her hair had started to grow noticeably, forming a soft golden fuzz that shone in the sunday. She no longer looked like the shaved, traumatized child from a month ago. That afternoon, Mr. Pierce came to my house to explain the legal situation in detail. The judge has ordered a complete family evaluation. This includes interviews with everyone involved, psychological evaluations of the parents, and an evaluation of the home environment. And what about Lily? Dr. Chen will have to present a report on Lily's progress and her current mental state. Her opinion will be crucial for the judge's decision. When is the hearing? In 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks to prepare the case that would determine my granddaughter's future. I felt overwhelmed. The next day, Ethan called to ask to see me in person. I agreed, but on the condition that it was just him. When he arrived at my house, he looked completely different. He had lost weight, had deep, dark circles under his eyes, and his posture was that of a defeated man. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "Sit down," I said dryly. Ethan sat on the edge of the sofa, nervous. "I know you're mad at me." "Mad?" I laughed bitterly. "Ethan, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. There's a huge difference. I understand. And you have every right to be." "Do I really? After 3 weeks, you finally understand that your daughter was being mistreated under your own roof." Ethan lowered his head. "I've been in therapy, Mom. I'm starting to understand a lot of things that I ignored." "Like what?" "Like the fact that Lily had changed completely in recent months. She had become so quiet, so timid. I thought it was a normal phase." "A normal phase?" My voice rose. "Ethan, your daughter was terrified of her own mother. I know that now, but at the time I was so focused on keeping the peace at home that I ignored all the signs." "Keeping the peace?" I looked at him in disbelief. "What peace, Ethan? The peace of ignoring that your wife was traumatizing your daughter?" Ethan began to cry. It was the first time I had seen him cry since he was a child. "Mom, I was a coward. I was afraid to confront Vanessa because when I did, she got worse. So I decided it was easier to pretend that everything was fine. And meanwhile, your daughter suffered in silence." "Yes, and that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life." For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I saw genuine remorse in my son. But remorse was not enough. "Ethan, do you really think Vanessa has changed?" "She's in intensive therapy 3 times a week. She's taking medication. She's been diagnosed with a disorder that explains a lot of her behavior." "That doesn't answer my question. Do you think she has changed?" Ethan was silent for a long moment. "I want to believe she has." Wanting to believe is not the same as believing. "Mom, she's really trying. She's reading books on parenting. She's working with a therapist who specializes in anger management. She's even taking yoga classes for stress management. And what if all that doesn't work? What if she has a relapse? Are you willing to risk your daughter's mental health for a second chance? What choice do I have? She's my wife. Your choice is to protect your daughter above all else." Just then, Lily ran in from the yard. Upon seeing her father, she stopped in her tracks. Her expression immediately changed from joy to caution. "Hi, Dad," she said shyly. Ethan knelt down to her level. "Hi, my princess. How are you?" "Good. Look, my hair is already growing," Lily said, touching her little head. "It looks beautiful, my love." Lily came a little closer, but kept her distance. "Dad, is Mommy not mad anymore?" The question broke Ethan's heart. "No, my sweetie. Mommy isn't mad. Mommy is very sad for having hurt you, and she's already learned not to be mean." Ethan looked at me, seeking help to answer such a direct question. I motioned for him to answer it himself. "Mommy is learning, my love. She's going to doctors who are helping her to be better." "Like when I go with Dr. Chen?" "Exactly like that." Lily was pensive. "And what if Mommy doesn't learn well? Is she going to punish me badly again?" The innocence of the question was devastating. Ethan couldn't answer. I intervened. "Lily, why don't you go play in the yard a little more while Dad and I finish talking?" After Lily left, Ethan completely broke down. "Did you hear that? My own daughter is afraid that her mother is going to hurt her again." "Yes," I heard. "How can I ask her to go back home when she's so scared?" "That's a decision you have to make yourself, Ethan. But you have to make it by putting Lily's well-being above all else." Ethan was silent for several minutes. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "What would you do in my place?" "I would protect my daughter no matter the cost, even if it meant getting a divorce, especially if it meant getting a divorce." Ethan stood up to leave. At the door, he turned to me. "Mom, I want you to know that if the judge determines that Lily must return home, I'm going to do everything I can to protect her. And what if it's not enough? Then I'll have to make more drastic decisions." After Ethan left, I called Dr. Chen to inform her about the legal petition. and ask her to speed up Lily's evaluation. Doctor, I need you to understand that this hearing is going to determine whether Lily returns to an environment that traumatized her. Your report could be the difference between safety and continued trauma. I understand perfectly, Miss Whitaker. I'm going to prepare a very detailed report on Lily's current state and my recommendations for her future care. What's your professional opinion? Is Lily ready to go back to her parents? Honestly, Lily has made significant progress in these 3 weeks. She's starting to rebuild her self-esteem and has stopped having nightmares, but that has been in a completely safe and predictable environment. What does that mean? It means that if she returns to an environment where there's any possibility of the trauma being repeated, all the progress we've made could be lost. And what if the parents have been in therapy? Therapy is a long process. Real behavior changes take months, sometimes years. There's no way to guarantee that 3 weeks of therapy have created permanent changes. That night, while I was helping Lily with her bath, she asked me a question that broke my soul. Grandma, are you going to have to give me back to Mommy and Daddy? I didn't want to lie to her, but I also didn't want to scare her. There are some important people who are going to decide what's best for you. And what if they decide, I have to go back, but I don't want to? Then we're going to do everything we can to make sure your voice is heard. The important adults are going to listen to what I want? I hope so, my love. I hope so. But on the inside, I had my doubts. The legal system didn't always prioritize a child's wishes over a parent's rights, and Lily was too young for her testimony to have much legal weight. I only had 2 weeks left to prepare for the most important case of my life, my granddaughter's future. The day of the hearing arrived too soon. I woke up at 5:00 the morning with a stomach full of nerves. Lily was still sleeping peacefully in my bed. Her hair had grown enough to form small golden curls that framed her sweet face. She no longer looked like the shaved, traumatized child from a month ago. While I was making breakfast, my phone rang. It was Dr. Chen. Miss Whitaker, I wanted to call you before the hearing. I have completed my evaluation, and my recommendation is clear. Lily should not return to her parents' home at this time. I felt a huge sense of relief. What did you find in your evaluation? Lily still shows signs of post-traumatic stress when returning home is mentioned. Yesterday, during our last session, I asked her how she would feel if she had to go back to her parents, and she began to tremble. And what did you recommend? Asterisk, asterisk. Extended temporary custody with the grandmother for at least 6 more months, with gradually increased supervised visits if the parents continue to show progress in therapy. When Lily woke up, I noticed that she was quieter than usual. At breakfast, she barely touched her favorite pancakes. What's wrong, my love? Grandma, today is the day the important people are going to decide. Yes, my sweetie, I have to talk to them. Only if you want to. No one is going to force you. Lily was pensive. I want to talk to them. I want to tell them that I like being with you. Are you sure you don't have to do it? I'm sure. I want them to know that I don't have nightmares here anymore. The courtroom was full when we arrived. Ethan and Vanessa were sitting on the opposite side of the room with their lawyer. When Vanessa saw me walk in with Lily, she turned pale. My granddaughter looked beautiful in a coral dress we had bought together, and her freshly washed hair was shining under the fluorescent lights. Vanessa looked different too. She had lost weight, and her hair was styled conservatively. Her eyes, which used to always show that cruel arrogance, now looked dull and nervous. Ethan came up to me before the hearing began. Asterisk, asterisk. Mom, I want you to know that no matter what happens today, I thank you for everything you've done for Lily. And Vanessa? Ethan looked at his wife. Vanessa is grateful too. She wants to talk to you. I have nothing to talk about with her. Asterisk, asterisk. Please, Mom. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Vanessa approached shyly, as if she were the scared child. Grace, I want to apologize. It's not me you have to apologize to. I already apologized to Lily, But I also need to apologize to you. I know I did unforgivable things. I looked her directly in the eyes. Do you really understand it, Vanessa? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? I've been in therapy for a month. I've been taking medication. For the first time in my life, I can clearly see what I did. Her eyes filled with tears. I traumatized my own daughter. I made her feel ugly and scared. What kind of monster does that? It was the first time I had heard her take real responsibility. And what guarantee do I have that it won't happen again? None, Vanessa admitted. I can't promise you that I'll never have another episode, but I can promise you that now I have tools to manage my anger. And I can promise you that if I feel like I'm going to lose control, I'm going to walk away. And what if Lily doesn't want to come back with you? Vanessa broke down. Then I'll have to live with the consequences of my actions. But I hope that someday she can forgive me. When the hearing began, the judge was an older man with a serious expression. Judge Harold Benson. First, he listened to the testimony of Ethan and Vanessa's lawyer, who presented all the medical and therapeutic documentation that showed the family's progress. Your Honor, the lawyer said, my client has been diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder, a condition that had not been previously identified. She is under intensive medical and psychological treatment. She has completed classes in anger management and positive parenting techniques. Then it was Mr. Pierce's turn. Asterisk, asterisk. Your Honor, progress on paper does not guarantee this child's safety. Lily suffered severe psychological trauma that is documented by a specialized child psychologist. Dr. Chen was called to testify. Her testimony was devastating for Ethan and Vanessa's case. Your Honor, in my professional evaluation, this child still shows clear signs of trauma. When I ask her about returning home, she exhibits physical and emotional anxiety responses. She has made significant progress in a safe environment, but that progress is fragile. What is your recommendation, doctor? Extended temporary custody with the grandmother for a minimum of 6 additional months, with monthly evaluations and supervised visits that can be gradually increased if the parents continue to show substantial progress. When it was Lily's turn to testify, the judge asked for the room to be cleared except for the parents, the lawyers, and me. Lily sat in a special children's chair next to the judge. Hello, Lily. I'm Judge Benson. Do you know why we're here? Asterisk, asterisk. Yes, sir. To decide if I have to go back with Mommy and Daddy. And what do you want? Lily looked at her parents, then at me. Asterisk, asterisk. I want to stay with my grandma. Why? Because with my grandma, I'm not scared. I sleep all night without nightmares. And my grandma never tells me I'm ugly. The judge took notes. Are you afraid of your mommy? Lily nodded. A little bit. Before, I was very scared, but now, just a little bit. And of your daddy? I'm not afraid of Daddy, but Daddy didn't protect me when Mommy hurt me. Ethan covered his face with his hands. Those simple words from his 3-year-old daughter perfectly summarized his failure as a father. What happened to your hair, Lily? Mommy cut it all with Daddy's machine because she said I was a dirty girl, but I had bathed the day before. And how did you feel? Very sad and ugly. Mommy told me that girls without pretty hair are ugly. Did your mommy say anything else? She told me that if I told anyone, she was going to cut my eyelashes, too. The silence in the room was absolute. Even Ethan and Vanessa's lawyer looked uncomfortable. Do you like your hair now? Lily smiled for the first time during the testimony. Yes. My grandma tells me it looks beautiful and puts special oil on it to make it grow fast. Do you want to see your mommy and daddy? Yes, but I don't want to live with them yet. I want to stay with my grandma until I'm not scared. After Lily's testimony, the judge called a recess. During those 30 longest minutes of my life, Lily and I waited in the hallway. She had behaved like an incredibly brave child. Do you think the judge is going to let me stay with you? She asked me. I hope so, my love. You told the truth, and that's the most important thing. When we returned to the courtroom, the judge had his decision. After reviewing all the evidence and hearing all the testimonies, I have reached the following conclusion. Although I recognize the progress that Ethan and Vanessa have made, the safety and well-being of the minor Lily Carter must be the absolute priority. My heart was beating so fast that I thought everyone was going to hear it. Therefore, I order extended temporary custody with Miss Grace Whitaker for an additional period of 6 months. During this time, the parents will have supervised visits twice a week, gradually increasing according to Dr. Chin's recommendations. Vanessa began to cry silently. Ethan closed his eyes with a mix of relief and pain. In addition, the judge continued, ***, the parents must continue with intensive individual and family therapy. There will be monthly evaluations, and any incident that puts the minor's well-being at risk will result in the immediate termination of all visitation rights." When we left the courthouse, Lily took my hand and looked at me with those wise eyes that had seen too much for her age. "Grandma, does this mean I'm going to be safe?" "Yes, my love. This means you're going to be safe." That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked me one last question. "Do you think I'll ever be able to live with Mommy and Daddy again?" "I don't know, my sweetie, but I do know that when that day comes, if it comes, you'll be ready and you'll be safe. And you'll always be my protecting grandma?" "Always, my love. No matter what happens, I will always protect you." Lily fell asleep with a smile on her face. Her golden hair was spread on the pillow like a halo. She was no longer the traumatized child who had arrived at my house a month ago. She was a child who was learning to be strong, to use her voice, and to know that she deserved to be loved and protected. And I had kept my promise. I had protected my granddaughter no matter the cost. Sometimes love requires courage, and sometimes courage requires saying enough is enough when no one else is willing to. If this story helped you, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling me what you would have done in my place. Your support helps me keep fighting for justice for the little ones. Thank you for watching.